I would like to thank everyone for joining us for this installment of Waterplay's webinar series. This presentation will cover the spring startup of a potable or flow-through aquatic play area. We will discuss the major items for starting up the system. Not all parks will have all of the items mentioned, but this is intended to apply to a wide variety of park operators. The topics for today are general inspection of the splash pad and equipment, collecting up the tools and parts that will be needed to prepare the park for the season, scheduling the services of departments outside to your own, setting up the controller, how the water flows through the system, some frequently asked questions. Prior to scheduling the startup date, you will want to have a general look over the splash pad in order to assess the condition of the components and splash pad surface. This will help you in making an estimate in the amount and type of tools required, as well as the number of personnel required. You will want to collect or have ready access to a number of tools and supplies. The bolts that hold the nozzles in place and that are used to mount the panels require the use of a tamper-resistant or security tool. There was a number of security tools that were supplied with the park when it was first shipped. Along with these tools were also shipped tools to remove the nozzles from the components. Other tools and equipment that you might want available are ladder, fasteners, both the ones for any panels that were removed, as well as spares for any bolts that need to be replaced because of wear or damage, wrenches, pliers, multi-point screwdrivers, touch-up paint, non-abrasive cleaning solution, broom, and garbage cans or bags. You will need to locate the panels and other items that were removed for winterization, as well as the fasteners required to attach them to the components. Locate the display nozzles for the park and inspect them for broken or damaged O-rings. Clean them of any debris that might block the water display holes. Replacement nozzles, O-rings, and tools can be ordered from Waterplay. As well, Waterplay has most, if not all, the original graphics that were used in the park on file, and we can have the panels remanufactured for you. You will want to inform any outside services that need to be aware of when you are planning to start the park. Often city facilities, where water meters might freeze, will remove the water meter for the winter and then reinstall them in the spring. As well, some facilities will turn the power off to the controller at a main panel which you might not have access to. Ensure that the main valves are shut off to the manifold prior to the water being turned on. The controller should be left in the off position at this time. If the controller has been turned off for more than 10 to 15 days, the current date and time will need to be updated. The sequences and operating hours that were in place when the system was winterized are stored in the controller's memory and shouldn't need to be entered, but it is worth becoming familiar with these screens. If the operator's manual for the controller as well as the original sequence settings have been misplaced, they are available from Waterplay. Here we have a flowchart for the controller. You can see how each screen is linked together. By pressing the back key on the screen, you will move to the previous screen. With the main valve to the manifold turned off, remove and clean any filters between the main shutoff valve and the manifold, as well as any filters that might be after the manifold. The blank nozzles on the splash pad can be removed, but do not install the display nozzles at this time. Once all the filters have been cleaned and replaced, the low point drains can be closed. Reconnect any other plumbing lines and fittings that were disconnected for winterization. Check each solenoid on the manifold to ensure that they are in the closed or off position. Turn them in a clockwise direction until they are snug. They do not need to be overly tight. The water can now be turned on to the manifold. When doing this, you need to be listening and checking for water leaks, fixing or tightening fittings as needed. Once the manifold has been charged with water and no leaks are evident, you can use the test menu in the controller to open each valve in turn to flush out any sediment or debris that might be in the lines. Turn one valve on at a time, turning it off prior to turning on the next valve. Look and listen for water leaks. Once all the lines have been flushed, the display nozzles can be installed in the components. Exit the test menu, as the activators will not start the sequence if the system is in the test menu. If the following conditions are met when an activator is pressed, sequence should start. The current date and time is correct and in the correct format. It is an operating day. Within the day's operating hours, there's a sequence available to play. Test each activator on the splash pad for correct operation. With the park operating through a sequence, the water display for each nozzle can be adjusted by using the flow control knob on the valve. Clockwise for less water, counterclockwise for more water. Ground sprays should be 4 to 6 feet high. Tipping buckets should dump every 12 to 15 seconds. Water hose take about 20 seconds to fill from the bottom nozzle. For components that have upward spraying nozzles, like the polypalms, the water should be about 1 to 2 feet high. Here is a splash pad with a number of its components working. Replacement parts can be ordered from Waterplay. Call 250-712-3393 and ask to speak to the customer support person for the area you are calling from. This person can answer most of your questions, as well as furnish you with the owner's manuals and setup guides that you need. You can also email info@waterplay.com and provide your contact information. A customer support person will call or email you back.